Vapnartak is the annual wargame show held at York Racecourse and is organised by the York Wargames Society. Arriving a few minutes before the show was due to start, the queue was filling up nicely with gamers waiting patiently to enter the excellent facilities of the Hospitality and Conference Centre. As the doors opened, people were excited to view the great range of demonstration games, look for hobby items around the various trade stands, and visit the ever-popular tabletop sales area. On entering the ground floor of the conference centre, you were greeted with the main trade stand area. A few of my personal favourites included war bases, West Wind, and Travelling Man, to name but a few. Moving around to the back of the hall, I encountered the first of the participation games, run by York Wargaming Society, a giant-sized Space Hulk game, originally released back in 1989 by Games Workshop. You can see the basic rules for the game displayed on the screen, making it easy for anyone to play and have fun.
Hi, my name is Nathan Jackson. I'm from the York Wargames Club, and we're here in front of our giant Space Hulk demonstration game at the Vapnartak show in February 2023. The show is comprised of laser cut MDF and 3D printed resin giant Terminators and Genestealers, which we've printed, made and painted ourselves, with myself and Alex Spate.
The Terminators look great, at least twice as big as the original 28mm figures supplied with the game. As I wandered around, I also found a copy of 3rd edition Space Hulk for sale on one of the nearby trade stands. The York Wargames Society's second offering was a large Warhammer game, depicting the greatest and most powerful realm of the old world, the Empire. You could tell everyone was having fun at the table, with a few even dancing as their forces charged across into battle. There was a vast array of well-painted figures on the table, from flying creatures swooping over the troop formations, to huge war elephants making their way slowly across the table. Set in a fantasy world, the armies did have access to cannon to destroy their opponents from afar, as giants strided forward into battle with men on foot and horseback. Located between the two York Wargaming tables was the bunker, hosting a large participation game based on the 1987 movie Predator. As I looked across the board, I could recognise many elements from the film, with a voice in my head that kept saying,
It's a game of the Predator, which was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie back in the 80s, and the game was originally made in 1982, but it's been cleaned up, etc., and bits added over the years. It is a participation game where you can play the Arnold Schwarzenegger and his mercenaries, or the rebels, or the Predator itself. The Predator's casting clear resin by agency castings. I run the bunker, which was a Wargames holiday centre in York, then Newark. Now I just tend to do commissions and that for people. We always come to Vapnartak and put on a game. People can play the game, and there's a game within the game which is for charity, where children, generally children, can find wild animals that are hidden in the jungle, snakes, etc., and we ask for a small donation to the charity. This helps, it gets the kids to look at everything on the board, and they're generally the right height for it. So I used to do this. I worked for the museum service in Newark, and excuse me, we used to do a similar thing with English Civil War games. Kids get more from looking at that than looking at relics. It's just that doesn't mean anything, whereas this gives a sense of scale or whatever.
Got to love the chopper flying over the jungle, no doubt coming to the rescue of the survivors from their predator encounter. The watchtower overlooking the rebel base, presumably before Dutch and his team annihilate it. Deeper into the jungle, you can stumble across ancient ruins and stories about the predator. A nice touch is the clear predator with its active camouflage, watching, waiting to attack. After finishing up looking at the remaining trade stands on the ground floor, it was onwards and upwards to the first floor, where more traders could be found, from Irongate Scenery to the Pit Gaming Shop, and at the far end was one of my favourite suppliers, Warlord Games. With my go-to game from Warlord being Bolt Action, the World War II miniature war game, I also play Cruel Seas, Blood Red Skies and Hail Caesar. Being a massive 2000 AD fan, the Judge Dredd game is a must-have, with loads of expansions from various judges, city defence units and various perps. The latest one recently announced being Blockwall. Other 2000 AD games to get the Warlord treatment are Slain with Kiss My Axe starter set and Strontium Dog.
Hi, I'm Dave from Warlord Games. We have just relaunched our Hail Caesar rulebook for its second edition. We've decided after the first edition was published nearly 10 years ago that need a bit of a facelift. There's a few minor rules tweaks, but it's still very similar to the first edition.
The miniatures for Hail Caesar are excellent, having some great detail. I particularly like the rank and file of the Romans, armed with gladius and shield. The starter set is exceptionally good value for money, as it includes the rules for the game, along with 2 starter armies, the Romans and the Gaelic Celts. There are also waterslide transfers to enhance your painted miniatures. The game can further be expanded with additional troops, different armies and fortifications. I also use some of these miniatures to play Saga, and might consider playing Lion Rampant after seeing it demonstrated at this show. Moving up to the second floor, you have to take a minute to enjoy the spectacular views of York Racecourse. What an amazing location for a wargame show. The first table at the far end of the mezzanine level is the extraordinary Kriegspielers, with the Battle of Healy Bridge that took place in 1922 as Japanese troops withdrew from the Russian Far East, leaving the collapsing white forces to their fate from both advancing Bolshevik and Chinese troops. Overnight, the elite Bolshevik 1st Special Purpose Strike Group, under the command of Red Ted, staged a daring night raid to capture the key road and rail bridgehead of Healy inside the Chinese frontier. Now they must hold until the relief column arrives to prevent the bandit warlord Peter Ling Pu from retaking this vital prize. As a keen railway modeller, I was disappointed that the train wasn't operational on the tracks. Maybe next year, guys. The next table along is the Brompton Bankers, with Skirmish at Mooste Bridge using the Line Rampant rules. The struggle took place in 1242 between a crusading army of knights, Danes and allies against the Russian city-state of Novgorod, led by Alexander Nevsky.
We're the Brompton Bankers. We're a collection of like-minded wargamers who meet sort of individually about once a week and collectively once a month. And we use, mainly using Daniel Mersey's rules. We've got most of them. But today we're using Lion Rampant version 2, which we find is you can use the troops you use for Saga, for those who are familiar with Saga. But the rules are a lot simpler. But you can use the same troops and you can usually have a decent game within a couple of hours. So it's good stuff. We like it.
Before this great battle, a skirmish took place near the village of Mooste. A force of Russian militia were ambushed by the Crusaders, led by the Bishop Herman of Tartu. The Russians had been looting the area and returning to Novgorod, but were defeated before they could escape back with their war spoils. It was interesting to talk to the Brompton bankers on how Line Rampant compared to the more complex Saga rules. I must purchase a set of the Line Rampant rules and give this game a try, as I don't need to buy any additional miniatures to play. The East Leeds Military Society had an interesting board setup in which you could hunt big game in a jungle using the tooth and claw rules for prehistoric animal hunting. This was an unusual break from the traditional wargaming and provided a lot of participation fun at the show. Tooth and Claw is a set of wargaming rules for hunters of prehistoric animals, where players can represent as either Stone Age tribesmen or 19th century sportsmen hunting after the biggest prey to roam the earth since the last ice age. Weapon tables provide stats for pre-gunpowder weapons, muzzle-loading firearms, breech-loading rifles, and repeating guns. Animal appearances are determined by encounter tables, and their behaviour, including attacks, are governed by the game. Animal lists include saber-toothed cats, prehistoric wolves and bears, mammoths, rhinos, oxen, gorillas, and even giant birds. A game of BattleTech Alpha Strike was hosted by the Harrogate Wargames Club, where you were invited to pilot a mech and join in the action today. No measuring tapes necessary, as all movement is done using hex tiles. The centrepiece of this impressive board was a gigantic communication tower. As all the information required to pilot your mech is on a quick reference card, this makes for a great easy participation game. Looking out across the table makes you want to start piloting your mech across the hex terrain, explore the battlefield, and launch missiles and other ordnance at other mechs around the table. This game has not changed much since its original release by Facet in 1984. Now produced by Catalyst Games, it continues to enjoy a large fan base. Set in a militarized universe in the 31st century, these large battle mechs allow the various factions to do combat across a titanic interstellar empire. Another game presented by the Harrogate Wargames Club was What a Cowboy, a rather jolly set of rules aimed at the classic Wild West cinematic fun, easy, quick and fun to play in the same vein as What a Tanker, also produced by the Two Fat Lardies. The game uses the same action dice mechanics as What a Tanker, but suitably changed to reflect the different environment, that of gunfighting cowboys. In The Good, the Bad and the Lardy, two rival gangs face off across the dusty streets of Lardville, in the classic "this town ain't big enough for the both of us" scenario. Players can lead their characters across the lead-filled streets to try to capture the enemy's hideout while still trying to hold onto their own. Round up a couple of trusty sidekicks, strap on your six-shooter, pull on your boots, and prepare for some Wild West fun. And remember, when you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk. Grimsby Wargames Society brought along part of their impressive Vicksburg board that I saw at the Battleground show in 2022. In the words of President Jefferson Davis, Vicksburg is the nail-head that holds the South together. Set in early spring 1863, Major General Ulysses Grant launched a campaign to capture the city of Vicksburg. After laying siege to the city for 47 days, Vicksburg finally surrendered on the 4th of July. With many of the buildings and ships scratch-built, using old cornflake packets and wooden coffee stirrers, the attention to detail is amazing. The train bringing forward much-needed supplies along with a large cannon to help break the resistance of Vicksburg. Advancing lines of infantry seem relentless in their mission to overwhelm the city, flags waving in the breeze as they march towards the enemy. High up from the observation balloon, camps can be seen below as the siege continues day after day, with heavy casualties on both sides. Sally Forth presented a fantastic Viking battles board that I just wanted to take home and play Saga and other suitable Age of Vikings skirmish games on. An impressive modular board system provided height and depth to the gaming area, with buildings, fortifications and even longboats in the harbour, making for interesting gameplay.
Greetings, I'm Doug Wright, working for Sally Forth, representing Viking battles using Ian Lovecraft's 3D printed terrain and the Sally Forth range of published books, Feudal Patrol and Pulp Alley. It's a skirmish system for Pulp Alley, a number of figures, 46 or so, and then the Feudal Patrol, large war bands, 5 or 6 figures each, random activation, and a much more fluid system.
The harbour area with its Viking longboats adds a new dimension to any skirmish battle, as combat could take place on the ships or even as they sail out to sea. Horse and carts and other town scenery add flavour to the game. The actual skirmish rules being played do interact with the various elements, including the doors, windows and movable objects. It was interesting to see multiple games and rule systems being played on one board at the same time. I could have spent quite a while getting involved with the gameplay on this impressive table. Wings of Glory is a regular attendee at wargame shows. This time they were running a World War I participation game. The game system is produced by Ares Games, supporting both World War I and World War II aerial combat, using cards and miniatures to represent the aeroplanes and their manoeuvres. Always a popular participation game, especially with the younger gamers, including myself. This is a great introductory wargame as everything you need is supplied, including pre-painted models, so you can start playing as soon as you open the box. The basic rules are quite simple, using the original card-based manoeuvre and combat system, which delivers fun and historical accuracy, allowing planes of very different flight capabilities and firepower to take part in aerial combat. The participation game had some huge barrage balloons, along with an impressive World War I bomber formation that was being attacked and defended by various biplanes and triplanes of the era. So having seen most of the tables on display, it was time to climb the final set of stairs leading to the tabletop sales area, where gamers could buy, sell and haggle for second-hand games and miniatures, which is where I bumped into fellow YouTuber Dave Walker from MS Paints.
So I am at Vapnartak 2023. So far I'm having a stressful time because there's a lot of people and I got a lot of shit on me. Probably shouldn't have this shit on me. I might have to beat that. Yeah, the tabletop sale is back for the first time in like 4 years, which is basically a little haggler's corner, which is wonderful. Already got myself some metal Lord of the Rings, some plastic Lord of the Rings, another copy of Terminator Genesis, so that's 4 copies of Terminator Genesis, the war game now. For £8, I just can't stop myself. What else did I get? I don't know. I got some more stuff, and I've only been here an hour, so there's plenty more to do. I want to see some boards and tables, get inspired for making. I'm not making any boards this year, but I want to get inspired for next year. So yeah, lots going on. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like the fuck out of this video. Definitely subscribe and tell this man how much you love him in a platonic way, if whatever way. Ribbit.
What a great show, with just time to take a quick look at the reenactors on the ground floor before heading home. If you enjoyed Vapnartak, why not leave a comment? And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you wish to see similar content from the retro attic man cave. Big thank you to Dave from MS Paints for taking the time to chat to me both on and off camera providing hints and tips on video and audio recording. Plus, I got to meet Health and Safety Frog. What's not to like? Oh, almost forgot. I haggled in the tabletop sale area for 3 painted elephants that I will put to good use in my games of Saga. See ya!